supposed to be the ones who wandered among the living, dragging souls down to the banks of Yomi and devouring their hearts in my stead, each soul another drop in the dark sea of my power. That was what Izanami, my predecessor, had done for thousands of years. That was what my fiancé had intended to do. That was what any honorable god would have done. But there was no honor in sitting on a stolen throne. My Shinigami always whispered that I wasn't really their goddess anyway, so what did it matter if I made my own rules? The deep darkness demanded payment, and 10 years of souls hadn't been enough. If my Shinigami wouldn't bring me more, I would do it myself. At least all the humans on my list were men who had strangled their wives or women who had poisoned their children, abusers and molesters and criminals who were too smart to get caught by the police. Chiyo kept careful files and judged them impartially, presenting me a list of her selections, carefully spread across Japan so that the humans could never find any pattern. Generally, I trusted Chiyo to know what I wanted, but that was one order I had given explicitly, that none of the humans on her list were innocent. It wasn't because I was kind-hearted, or thought I had a divine right to pass judgment on Earth's sinners, or anything so noble as that. It was because one day I would eat enough souls that I would be strong enough to bring my brother back from the deep darkness, and I would have to look him in the eye and explain exactly how I'd done it. If I told him his life had been bought with the blood of innocence, he'd probably walk straight back into the void and let the monsters devour him rather than live with that debt on his soul. I would carry the debt for him, so he would never have to know how heavy it was. I melted into the shadow of a passing streetcar, letting it carry me closer to Ginza, the smell of wet pavement and oil sharp beneath the wheels. It wasn't the rainy season, but my presence often darkened the sky wherever I went, wringing hot mist from the clouds. As I passed through the streets, the humans stiffened and looked around, wondering why their skins suddenly prickled with goosebumps, why their hearts beat faster, why the crowds around them had become faceless and the sounds of the city had faded into a thorny static. Humans could sense when death was coming, but for most of them, it would be no more than a fleeting sensation. Fewer humans stayed out at this hour, especially in the heavy late summer heat, and more of them began to disperse as I passed them. In the 10 years since I'd come to Japan, the cities had started to fill up with echoes of London. Streetcars with hand-crank engines that sputtered down the roads, railroad officers in western suits and flat-topped straw hats with black ribbons, women carrying alligator leather handbags. My old life was following me, crossing the ocean piece by piece. I saw the changes more in the crowded streets of Tokyo than in the farming villages, which was one reason I avoided urban areas as much as I could. That, and everything in the city felt just slightly off balance, like the sheer number of humans had tilted the earth off its axis. Everything in the market leaned precariously away from the buildings, all the bright canopies over storefronts, the lantern garlands, the bright painted posters over the theatres, making the crowded streets even smaller by narrowing the sky overhead into a thin strip of white. Even the lotuses in the city's central park seemed to tilt to the left, ignoring the pull of the sun. The humans here must have sensed who I was, but none of them would look me in the eye. The hot days of summer cast a humid haze over the distance, blurring the far ends of the streets so that everything in the distance was a dizzy secret. Children bounced balls in street puddles of grey water too murky to show their reflections. Men rushed around pulling jinricksha with crates that might have contained rice, or pottery, or contraband. It was a city of mysteries and possibilities, not all of them good. I jumped off the streetcar and grabbed onto the shadows below a stone bridge that stretched over the